FGC Job Squad, your premier Tekken podcast.
Hey everybody, this is FGC Job Squad episode 15. I'm your host Kadar, aka Kadizi, and I'm here with my co-host Ian, aka Pickle.
What's up?
And we have a very special guest today, one of the best Tekken players in the world, one of the most consistent top 8 placers you'll see. And I'm so happy she decided to come on. Welcome, Cuddlecore. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay. So I kind of just basically we have the same kind of format every week, and we always start with how'd you get into video games, and we'll get to like competitive fighting games later. But what was your first introduction to the world of video games?
My first introduction to the world of video games was actually through my father. He was a really big gamer, like the kind of gamer where back in the day you would use up lots of paper to print a walkthrough and would buy the guides and everything. Loved all like the AAA titles and stuff. Well, when they had the first game of their series, like for example, Devil May Cry was one of them for sure, and Resident Evil and stuff. But because of my dad, so as a little kid, seeing my dad play all those games, I was so interested because it's video games. All the lights, the sounds, the stories, it draws you in. And of course, it scared me also because some of those games were super creepy. But it was just because of my dad, and especially fighting games, because he never really discriminated when it came to I like 2D or like 3D. No, he just loved a game that could get his attention, especially because of like cover art. So Tekken was that game for us.
Damn, dude. When you said your dad, I was expecting like old school NES games, but you what PS2 and stuff, so that he was gaming for a long time and like didn't give it up. That's pretty cool.
Yes, actually PS1 as well. PS1 and PS2. I remember it was like the last day of like second grade for me. I came home and my dad had just gotten like the PS2 because it was super new, and he had Tekken Tag for console, and I was like, "Is that the new Tekken?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, I just remember, I remember falling in love with the game. The moment I saw it, I was like 7. And the music, the characters, the graphics, I still think hold up to this day.
Right.
My memories are so embedded in first time experiences with, games and fighting games and Tekken, and my dad, and playing for hours with him, and him helping us unlock the characters from, I have a lot of good memories.
That's awesome. Like, you're probably the first person I've talked to, and I can't really even think of too many people I know like in person or anything like that, where they played games with their parents. That's like so rare. That's like, it's gonna be less rare, obviously, like as people,
especially for our era, right? Like,
yep.
That's pretty crazy because my dad, he got me into games, but he was not into them. It made no sense. Like he almost hated gaming, but he would buy me everything that was out.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome because he still fueled your habit. He supported it, and that's super important too. Just because sometimes just because the parent doesn't play doesn't mean that they don't understand how much you love something like a hobby, and they want to invest in that for you, especially because if you didn't have allowance, then they're like, let me.
Yeah, you mentioned how some games early on used to be very scary and creepy, and you look back at them now and they're probably not, as scary as they used to be. But Resident Evil 1 was that game for me. That's why I've always loved that game, because that was the first scary game that I played. And my brother and I, we never beat that game as kids. And just those fears always just stayed with me. And I to this day, I can't play scary games and like the way other people play them. Like I get too immersed in that, and it's so much harder for me than like the average person. But I think it was because I played it early on, and I don't know, I never got over those fears early on, even for games like RE1.
Yeah, I got to be super honest with you. With RE1, I played the remake a couple months ago, and That's still scary. Yep.
Dude, that game is still scary.
Yep.
Yeah, to this day, it's really good.
It's phenomenal. It's truly what embodies what Japanese survival horror is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And survival horror in general. You know, not there's limited ammo. You have a certain amount of saves. Those crimson heads. Oh god, that was the worst
Yeah,
part for me. I had never had anything. I didn't know that was a thing until I played one.
yeah. I just saw NYK. He came on the podcast too. He played the remake a couple weeks ago, and he had never played any Resident Evil game, so it was kind of cool watching him play because it kind of reminded me of what I felt like when I first played a Resident Evil game. And was just by watching him because everything was just scaring the crap out of him. And then when the Christmas hit came up, I was like, oh no, I don't know what he's gonna react to. And he died. He died right away, but he was screaming when he died to him. It was the coolest thing watching somebody play for the first time.
I feel like playing scary games on stream is cheating. Like you have to be by yourself with the lights off. If you have people to talk to and shit, like they're gonna take you out of that like immersion or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's good to stream it, but it's way scarier if you don't kind of.
Yeah, and nobody was helping him. He was asking people for help, but I wasn't telling him anything. I was just watching him just die in front of me. Like he was making air mistake. Yeah, air mistake in the game. I was like, yep, I went through the same thing. I just did not help him until
like
just so fun.
I think Eris was saying the first time he played RE1 was like he rented it and then he brought it home and then he told his mom to take him back to Blockbuster because he said the dogs came through the glass and he turned off PS1 immediately. It's like probably the funniest RE1 story. But okay, so what area of the country did you grow up in without getting too specific? Because for some reason I thought you were East Coast, but I guess not.
It's funny. A lot of people actually think I'm East Coast, and it's like I don't know, because it's the play style, it's the people I know, it's the players. No, I'm actually Midwest all the way. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then so I guess like do you play with Chicago Tekken or like I guess currently or anything like that or not really?
Usually just Shadow and Junia. They live 50 minutes from me, and I'm like really like tight with his family, so I go over there and spend time and train over there.
Okay, so you're playing, games with your family and stuff like that. At what point do you find out about the competitive scene? Because it's pretty elusive for like a lot of people. For me, it was elusive for the longest time till I saw till YouTube dropped and you could see those crazy stuff on YouTube. But how did you find competitive fighting game scene?
I found the competitive fighting game scene because of word of mouth from a friend at the time. I was going to community college in the area, and I was looking to get involved in something outside of community college because I wasn't trying to socialize with people in that. It just, I went there to learn and then I went to work. Yeah. And I wanted something outside of that, and Tekken was that hobby for me. So one of my friends was like, hey, like we have meetups and stuff. There's like meetups that happen. You should check it out on the Chicago like Tekken Land page. It was on Facebook at the time. And so I linked up with a few people, asked a few questions, and it ended up being like a challenge, like, you can't beat me, this kind of thing. And I ended up meeting like people that would become my friends for a very long time. At the meetup, it was at Game Pazo, actually. So, yeah.
This is in Illinois, right?
Yes.
Yeah, community college is like such a mixed bag of the types of people you meet. You'll meet like I don't know. It's like the TV show Community. It's like middle-aged people. Nothing wrong with that. It's cool that they're going to school, but it's really hard to like. Everyone's in a different place at community college.
Exactly. I found it a little difficult because like sometimes the most comfortable environments for me are those where like everybody kind of looks like me, like in terms of like age and like hobby or like profession or like major, something they majored in, right? Yeah. But if we're all kind of going there for different things, it kind of put me out of my element in trying to like approach people. So I kind of did a bit more of that when I actually went away to college at NIU, at Northern Illinois University, where I was around artists all the time. And a lot of the time when you like art, you also like other things like gaming or like pop culture things or like anime or like manga. Like, so a lot of the time those similarities come through. So it made it easier for me to socialize, but I kind of had to force myself to socialize and find gamers when I was going to community college at home.
Right. Yeah. I remember I went to community college for like a year and a half and I kind of speed ran it and then I transferred to university. But yeah, like exactly what you're saying. Like as soon as I went to university, I was able to like be fast friends with people like peers, similar age, kind of interests and stuff like that. So that's really cool. What Tekken game were you guys playing though? Or were you playing at the time? these meetups and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, it was tag. It was tag 2. I actually came from tag 2. That's when I started competing. And so our scene would have events, and I remember specifically it was like a mini major called Chicago Heart, and players from southern states were coming to it was like our major. And God, it was so cool because Majin was there, Shinblade was there, and a ton of other people for different fighting games. But like, it was called Chicago Heart, and so we would play tag 2, and it was just so awesome looking at like the top players at the time, just what they knew, their techniques, and it really taught me like how I wanted to play, like some things I want to work on. It was just very inspiring to be up close and kind of be near the greats of the time. Like I just, it was such a great experience. I really miss our gaming homes. It was literally 30 minutes from me.
What team do you play in Tag 2?
Guess.
I'm gonna guess double links.
No, actually, Elisa Xiaoyu.
Oh,
But
okay.
I did also
I
play double
wasn't
link too.
expecting
Yeah.
that. Oh, she also did. Okay.
Because I used to play on Xbox. I feel like I used to bump into you here and there, so I that was gonna be my guess. Double links.
Yeah, double links. Yeah, I was on PS3, and it was. Yeah, I loved Ling
Oh, I
Elisa.
thought you were on Xbox. So you were on PS3. 'Cause I played on both, but I ended up on Xbox towards the end of Tag 2.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you mentioned Xbox because I believe Shadow and Junia
Yeah.
came from Xbox, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like, oh my god, no way! And then
Yeah, they were
yeah.
like the main like top players in Xbox. They didn't have many. Most people were on PS3.
So then they converted over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't think that Elisa would ever be like my main or like my starting character
Yeah.
because I played Ling. Like I was considered a Ling main. And I was like, but when as Tekken evolved and like meta and the game changed for
Yeah.
7,
You
that's
picked a
when
good
I
one.
didn't know. I did not know. Dude, I had no idea. But then but I used to start with Ling first. I always start with Ling
Yeah.
first. Man, it's weird how that happened.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember back in the beginning of Tekken 7, like Ling was hard to deal with for everyone. Everybody was struggling against that
Very good.
character. So
Yes.
yeah, and then like they just ended up toning her down little by little, and then look at your backup, Elisa. I think she's probably one of the better characters in the game.
She is. She's amazing. Obviously she has her flaws, but like I feel like she can handle dang near the whole cast.
Yeah.
That movement and that whip punishment is what really
Yeah,
seals the
the
deal for
side
me.
steps are insane.
Exactly, and the advanced movement of the side steps, like it's wiggling out of stuff. I mean, Elisa and Zafina are like my favorites in terms of how busted the movement is.
Yeah. You always have that one factor where like can these people deal with the chainsaw stuff, right? Or can they deal with the Zafina stances? You always have that as like a backup.
The first test, yeah. or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Always check them.
It's important. But I'm glad that she has a stance because if that wasn't the case, she'd kind of be very like vanilla. She wouldn't have much pressure to her. Yeah.
So I'm curious. So you said that was your first major. You said Chicago Heart, right? And so when did the game like I guess click as far as like okay, I need to know kind of the systems more deep. Was there someone helping you at that time? Do you have training partners and things like that? So when did the game click for you, and who's your I guess kind of support system?
So I think when the game clicked for me, I don't know actually when it did. I just think at one point, you kind of just start to realize things that stumped you didn't anymore. The fact that I could backdash at one point really made me feel more comfortable. I could punish better. My matchup knowledge was way stronger, and seeing your friends do well at events, and they were going outside of the state. They were going to those regional events, like the final rounds and stuff. So I think for me, it clicked when I realized I was on the same level as my friends who were doing well at the tournament. So I was like, it's time for me to test myself at these events. I need to go outside of the state now, like see what it's all about.
That's awesome. So they'd come back and be like, "Oh, I got out of pools," and you'd be like, "Huh, I could probably get out of pools too then," or something like that.
Yeah, or even like top 16. It was usually top 16 because like we were like we were like the up and comers at the time. And
who were your training partners, or did you have training sessions, or were you kind of playing by yourself at home?
Yeah, so I had a few. I can't remember everybody, but I remember Magnificent was one. Joey Fury ended it ended up being another one. Sometimes I would play with Tay, the law player. Um, and then at one point, I think I ended up playing Shadow some too, actually. Um,
Was this online training or kind of
mhm.
in person? Oh, okay, that's
Yep,
really
online
cool.
because the net code was so good for tag 2, we could actually do that, and it
Yeah.
felt great. Um,
That's
yeah, so
crazy. I
that's
actually
kinda
didn't
where
know
I
that. Tag 2
so
has
yeah,
good netcode enough to like do stuff nearby, I guess regional, I guess.
it felt like it, when I played, and it was nice. It was super helpful, and there was other people too, but I can't remember their names, but yeah, I played with them a good amount at times, and it really just was super helpful.
For sure. Okay, so like when was that step to be like, okay, I want to maybe travel?
Hmm. I'm trying to think. I think when I mean, it still ended up being in my state, but it was actual like major. It was UFGT 10, I think.
That's the old CEO, right? Or not CEO, sorry, combo breaker, right? Or
That's how I
something.
usually like to reference it, but I don't know if people agree. But yes, UFGT, and I went and I got top 8, and
Oh, no way. So this is like you're pretty much your second major or kind of first major. You got top 8.
yeah, like I think I can't remember the timeline, but I think final round had happened. I was like, okay, yeah, I did that, and then I think UFGT at some point had happened the same year. And, it took a bit though for me to get to that point, but, going to UFGT and being on the stage, I was like, "Oh man," like, it was such a thrill to be there, but I was also kinda, like, nervous and, kinda, repping Elisa, and just kind of the adrenaline. I think that was one of the first times I experienced adrenaline, playing friends on the stage
Yeah,
and
it's
showing
so
what I
different playing under those conditions, like, because when you look back, I don't know if you ever watch back your matches. I hate watching them back, but I watch them back sometimes, and I go like, man, I don't do these things, and when I'm relaxed, you know. But when you're up there, like some things just get out of hand, and just the nerves, they just get to you the first couple times, and you make all these like simple mistakes that you know that you should not be doing, but. I'm sure over time, like you ended up getting over that because I don't feel like I see that as much when I see you play now. But
Yeah. Oh,
I'll
yes.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine, you're fine. And so, yeah, so, like, I think nerves is kinda something that never really goes away, but it's just how you, like, manage it because, you put yourself in those situations, more, y
Yeah.
you're more comfortable. I still kinda have that anxiety, but it's, because COVID has been such a thing for a long time, I'm not used to being in those environments anymore, so it's almost like
Yeah.
I'm relearning how to exist
Yeah.
in those spaces with all those people.
Yeah. Having people
Um
cheering, and
I'm
yelling
not
and
used
all
to that anymore.
that. Yeah.
I it's a lot, so I'm kind of allowing myself to embrace the growing pains of going back
Yeah.
offline because I sure did miss it, but it definitely is an adjustment. Um, yeah.
After I stopped teleworking, I guess like during COVID and went back into the office, I like couldn't make eye like I was didn't know how to talk to people anymore. Didn't know how to, like,
So you know what's
I
up
can
because it's
imagine.
hard.
Yeah,
Dude,
for gaming, it's probably just, like way worse or like harder.
it's tough. It's tough, and being around all those people and then they're
Yeah.
nice enough, right? Hey, like everybody asking for a picture or, like, signing something, they're nice, and I loved doing that before COVID, but
Yeah.
now I'm a little social, so I kinda have to it's a little bit more work for me, because of the social anxiety, so, uh, it's gonna take a little bit of
Yeah.
adjusting, but over time like, this is my 3rd CEO was my 3rd event offline, but it was the biggest, like, in terms of, like, how big it was as the 1st one, and I was like, "Whew."
You
It
mean
gave me Combo Breaker Evo flashbacks.
you mean third event since COVID era? Your third.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Right.
was like, "Oh my god, this is insane." It felt so different, but I'm loving kind of, going back into the norm again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
think of some of the biggest moments that like we've seen like for live tournaments, like thinking back at Combo Breaker, Knee versus Rixta. Like,
Yes.
what would that moment look like without that crowd? Like, I don't think it would have been the same, you know? Like, what made that moment was
Yes.
seeing a whole wave of people just stand up and just screaming to the top of their lungs. Like, that's so cool, you know? Like, I do definitely miss having live events. It's
Yeah,
it's just so much better.
it is. And that's what Tekken's all about, right? Those crowds. And I know every fighting game has their crowd and the hype,
Yeah.
but we do it different, man. We do it different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and so much so that people comment on it. We show up for our game no matter who's watching.
Yep.
And it's great that now Tekken reaps the benefit of being so popular and being such a household name in terms of fighting games that we can all come together like masses of us and
Yep.
cheer for it in person and watch some of the best duke it out. I love that. And yeah, like you said, the fact that we experienced it in person is something that is super memorable compared to like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if it was online and the net code would have been good. I mean,
Yeah.
it would not have had the same effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So okay, so at this time, like, okay, I'm still thinking Tag 2 UFGT. You're doing well and stuff like that. Did you get any attention? Because I mean, to be honest, I don't know of female players at that time. I mean, I remember, who was it? I mean, I can't really name too many, but like, did you get like attention for that factor, like for doing so well and being kind of a new name?
Yeah.
Is there like, oh,
And
sorry,
yeah. Oh no, you're fine. Like the same, like kind of like around the same time that a lot of us were coming up, like me, Peeling, Mac, Joey Fury, Obscure, um, Shadow, like all of us, because we were doing well at like events and showing up and stuff, we were getting that recognition. So yes, and so I definitely did start to, and it was it was interesting, but it was also like nice because it was nice to get the support from the old heads too, and they just genuinely wanted to see me do well. And if I had any questions, they were there for me, and they still are. Um, and they always talk about how proud they are of me.
That's awesome.
And where I started and where I am, and those kinds of things stay with me because sometimes I don't like to talk about it because sometimes it has like a very tough spot in my heart in terms of gender, but they never said, "Hey, you have a limitation because you're a woman." They saw the potential, so they wanted to foster it and protect it and make sure I had a space to thrive and grow. So they were there for me. Um, and not everybody gets that. So I was blessed. I was fortunate. Didn't mean I didn't deal with things from people, but I always had that support system that always said, "Hey, you're doing great. Continue to. We're here."
Mhm.
And I was taught certain things in the game because of that, and NYC Fab was really good about it too, and Majin as well, especially. Yeah, I remember KIT, I think 2016. I think I could be wrong, but he's I had done really well. I got top 8, and I was playing, and he's like, "How does it feel to be a top player?" And I said, "Well, Majin said I'm a top player." I was like, "It's 2016."
Stamp of approval.
And I said,
Yeah.
"No." And to me, that kind of respect is what I want, from somebody regionally
Yeah.
who knows, the grind and
Yeah.
somebody I respect in America. I just, really I looked up to him.
Yeah, that's like kind of a big theme that we've had on our show when we've interviewed, I guess, other players. Is there's a point where they have people supporting them, and that's like a big ingredient, I guess, to improving your game. And then kind of words of affirmation to kind of keep you on track and like keep you motivated, because it's really rare. I mean, it's kind of like sometimes people won't get like that little encouragement that they need, but when it does happen, it's like it pays such huge dividends. It's really cool.
Yeah, it pays huge dividends, and even now, like with my coach Trungi, like I he always gives those affirmations. He's always meeting me on Sunday or Mondays. We're going over the footage, everything, from the tournament that happened that week, offline or online, because it's the online tournaments are still a thing. But he's always like, "Hey, proud of you. The things that we've been applying, you did them. You composed yourself. Like, proud of you. This is great, good stuff." And that kind of stuff. It's positive, so it makes me feel and helps me recognize I'm doing something right, because it's super easy to be very hard on yourself, especially when you're performing in front of crowds. Yeah.
Right. That's really awesome. That's really cool. Okay. So so Tekken 7, I guess, is kind of approaching. Were you really excited for Tekken 7?
Yes, I was. I wanted to make sure at the time that I had a PS4 to actually play the dang game, because I was in college and I didn't have one. I said, crap. And I needed it. I needed a PlayStation, and I wanted to be ready. So with my boyfriend at the time, he helped me get it, and I had a monitor, got the PS4. We bought it off of a friend, and I had it. So when I had time, like every 2 weeks, I would play Tekken 7, and that happened for maybe during the school breaks. I would then like play, like during the spring break, during winter break,
Oh, so you
and
weren't you
summer.
weren't grinding it at launch. You were kind of focused on school. That's really I didn't
Correct.
know that. I thought you would have been playing because right now you're one of the top players. I would have assumed you went to arcades that how round one would have T7 machines or something like that. Because that's something
No.
we hear a lot. Like people played it ahead of release and then kind of when it came out, kind of cracked out on it. But you were still focusing on school. Were you about to graduate?
Mm-hmm. It took me 2.5, 3 years, but yeah. In 2018, I graduated, and Tekken 7 like released like like months before, I think, and so like every 2 weeks I would play, but I was like always watching it and stuff while working and creating art, and so then I got invited to E League, and I played, but like I was training with my friends and stuff, but I wasn't playing all the time. So when I went to E League and totally like you know just kind of went out there and played my heart out and like beat like four people on the team. Like the
Yeah.
other half of the team, I mean like the other fourth of the team, not fourth, but the other people on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, the other four players, it was kind of like people were like, "Oh, who's that?" Because I was new. I was new.
So let's talk about E League because E League was freaking awesome. I think just the amount of hype it was, the amount of like I think it was on TV and like the production value. Can you talk about like getting invited and like the whole experience?
Yes. So getting invited, the whole experience itself, if it weren't for E League, I wouldn't be doing this. And a lot of other things that have happened in my life. If those things hadn't happened, I wouldn't be doing this. But E League was such a huge like it made me realize a lot. So I got invited. The invitation got extended to me. Um, there were like 20 people invited or something like that. But there were four captains. So three of the captains, well, it was Anakin, Fab, and Poke Chop, and then the fourth one was me.
And
Um,
how do they get picked? Who decided who the captains were? That's already decided by them?
I had no idea. I was just asked.
Yeah. Oh, if you
I
wanted to
had
be a
no idea.
captain.
Hmm?
They asked you if you wanted to be a captain.
Yes, and I said yes. And at the time, I really don't think I had tapped into like the true confidence performing as a player at the time because
Yeah.
I hadn't competed a ton. It was very on and off because of school.
Yeah.
And so my manager at the time, the team manager at the time, she was like, go ahead, do it. So I did. And I was like, I didn't know what to expect, but I said, F it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'd never been in that position, but when we had to, it put me in a certain spotlight that I wasn't used to. But I was still me, and I'm really proud of myself for it because it was.
Yeah, a lot of people might, have never been like a leader or a team leader of anything. Like it's hard to, just accept that, like that position. It's not like you don't know what to expect from saying yes. But that's pretty cool that you just, you went for it.
Yeah, it felt so good, you know. It definitely gave me the confidence I needed to know, like, if I wanted to go into esports, oh, then I definitely could. That happening was the confidence boost I needed for it because it was just a hobby. I
Yeah.
swear, it really was. Like even when I graduated, I s- mm, I skipped a day of advanced illustration class to go and play in that on the weekend. I told my teacher and everything. I was one of his favorites, so
Yeah.
and I showed him. I came back that Monday and I said, "Hey, Todd, I want to show you what I've been doing." And he was so like his face lit up. He thought I was so
Yeah.
cool,
He's like,
and
what?
yeah, he's like, "Whoa." He's like, "This is so cool, Janelle." Like, and then, when I graduated, I was still, my work was in a gallery and things like that, but I I got approached by Equinox, like, in October, maybe September at the time, and I just said yes. I said yes, and I had heard good things from Tasty Steve about like Dimeback and Joey being treated well by Equinox, and Joey was really encouraging and stuff. So I did it. I went. I went for it, and I've been with them for 3 years. I just can't believe it.
That's really cool. Yeah. Like joining a team and like it's actually like kind of like a job, or it's a job now for sure. It's
Yeah.
that opened up a lot of other opportunities because I'm pretty sure after that, like you were going to way more majors, right?
Yes, they sent me to many things. I was so nervous because yeah, it was my first time being on like a team other than like In the Skies, because In the Skies was kind of informal, but they did what they could. So Equinox was way more like it was a step up, and I was like, oh man, like, but I went to Canada Cup and I got fourth, and I did really really well, and then I went to Amsterdam and I got fourth there too, and people were like, oh my god, dude, who is this god? I was, oh man, like I was like, oh man, like I knew at the time there was a goal that I had, and I wanted to accomplish it. I wanted to play a certain way. I had certain mental goals in terms of performance that I wanted to just knock out, and I was able to. And I think knowing that it wasn't just, I, I knew in the back of my head there was no fluke. None of it. E-League was no fluke. None of
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
And not letting what anybody else say about it, determine like the fact that you know what you're doing is so important, because people will swear up and down that, especially when you're a woman. Oh, and I hate this statement, because for some reason people just have not gotten out of like the Stone Age or whatever. But no man is going easy on me. The kind of opponent I am, I've already established myself that I am, I'm a pro player. I'm a top player. I'm a threat like that.
Yep.
Nobody, and there's money on the line. Nobody does
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Nobody,
No.
I've never heard of that. There's no, when it's tournament, that's when you pull out all your tricks, all like
Mhm.
focus, and yeah, maybe in casuals you want to sandbag or people want to sandbag against each other, but no, I've never. There's no way that people would think that's crazy. Anyone who thinks that's an idiot, like very
Yeah,
stupid.
I completely agree. But it's great to know that 95% of the world doesn't see things that way, which is really good. It's just sometimes those negative comments are a little loud, though they are
Yeah.
small. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Let me see. So yeah, kept competing after that. Was it Evo? You did really well. I remember that it was
Mhm.
a 2019 Evo.
Yes.
Was it uh and then was it Summer Jam, and then was it DreamHack? Or basically you're just still
Yes.
just doing really well. So and then you kind of kept going and like onto this like kind of meteoric rise, because I don't want to talk too much yet about how crazy your past year has been, but I guess before COVID, like you're still grinding. Anything kind of notable? Is your family still supporting you and things like that? Like, is there any notable stuff happening?
Yeah. So, yeah, my family was still supporting me. I was trying to figure out the direction I want to go in for esports. At the time, I was working with Caffeine TV, but it wasn't providing me the sort of like stream freedom that I was looking for. So after that whole like contract thing was up, I went back to Twitch. I had left Twitch for a certain amount of time. I'm so glad I came back. And it's amazing. The amount of freedom I have to express myself through my channel with emotes, little like the channel points. You get to customize your stuff. Like it's unique to you, something that was lacking in the place that I was a streamer. And so I was trying to figure out what direction I want to go in. So in talking with Equinox, we start to do a lot more. We start to do like tournaments and charity events. So, like kind of expanding our reach in other things that we were passionate about, along with getting a coach, which was very interesting too. There were a lot of adjustments, but I tried to go outside of just playing. So I played, but I also made sure I was promoting myself on my social media, showing that I also did other things so that I could get more opportunities. Word of mouth and word of social media is such a powerful thing. And I feel that more players should use it to put themselves out there. Tournament results are cool and all, but if you're not documenting them or stating what you've done, it does not have the same effect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like
Right.
a lot of those players that just wanted to get sponsored off of what their placements are. Like those placements, they mean something for a short amount of time, then people forget. On to the next tournament, and then
Mhm.
people will not remember that you got fifth or third or whatever at this at the past event. If you didn't make any kind of content about it, like people will just move on. The way you move on to the next event, people will just forget about it.
Exactly. That's why, like, you make yourself memorable through the content that you create. And I realized something. I think people rely too much on they rely too much on other people talking about how good they are, or like how they did a tournament. Don't let somebody else talk about how good you did at something.
Yeah.
You should talk about it yourself. Talk about what you're doing. That's what your social media page is about. Because so many of the players want to get that success, but you really gotta like be creative with how you put yourself out there. What makes you stand out from somebody else? And it's a marketing thing, and
Yeah.
it's still you. But how are you kind of exposing yourself to the different like communities that you want to be involved in? Because we're not just fighting game players. We're people with likes, dislikes, dialogues that we want to have about tons of things going on in the world. Like, who are you when you're not sitting in that chair competing? I think that's important because that's also a marketable thing. If you're trying to
Right.
eat, if you're trying to eat and survive through esports, is what I mean.
Yeah. So it basically became like a full-time job for you, kind of learning. You basically, I'm sure you could get like a social media job because like marketing yourself, like you said, I'm sure it probably like over 40 hours a week just working on like that kind of stuff.
Yes. So it's been my full-time job for 3 years. And, my parents gave me the space to expand in esports. They weren't like, "Hey, no, you need a traditional job, a 9 to
Yeah.
5, or you're not gonna live here. Rent needs to be paid." No, they gave me the room I needed to explore this as my career. And as they saw more of the benefits like coming in, they were like, "Yeah, okay, we see what you're trying to do here. You're doing a lot of great work." And but they never were against it. They just want to make sure that I was taken care of. Um So over time, as the years rolled in, they were seeing that, but it was because I was also evolving with everything going on. Because social media was the only place we were, interacting and stuff because of COVID. I made sure I capitalized on that, and they were all things I was doing, but I was making sure people knew about them.
Right. And good segue because uh that was an intercontinental fight club. Like you are probably like the most winningest person in that, and that's like during COVID. And like for me, like I have so much props for people who kept grinding during COVID and just playing online tournaments, because a lot of people are just like, oh my gosh, online tournaments, forget that. But uh like that's kind of how you stay sharp and stuff like that. So you kind of kept grinding, kept like COVID didn't slow you down at all. You just kind of adjusted.
Exactly. You can't let certain things stop you from getting where you need to go. I wasn't gonna let it stop me. If anything, I saw it as opportunity to work on the things that I want to get better at in terms of the game and in my career for esports. So, and that's when having the coach came in,
Oh
and it
yeah, so the
really,
coach, was it
uh,
the same coach the whole time? Sorry, Trungi. Was it always Trungi?
yes.
That's awesome. So you kind of talked about your coach and how you guys go over film and stuff, but can you talk about just how that started? And then I know your team, was it your team who provided one?
Yes. So Equinox hired him on, and because they hired on Trungi, Emily, my manager, she was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have a coach now. What do you think about Trungi being our coach?" And I said, "I think that's amazing. Yeah." I said he's one of the most technical players I know, and I was I was really, like, happy to have a coach, something that I never considered. It's not really talked about a lot in the FGC, having, like,
Yeah,
a personal coach, but he shows up to, like, my events, and he supports me, you know?
that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
And people forget Chunky, for like a good year, he was placing really high in almost every event that he went to with when Geese came out, right? He kind of just picked
Exactly.
up the character, just dominated like crazy.
Yeah, still one of the best geeses that I know. Shoot, like, yeah, like you said, he dominated. He dominated for a whole year, probably
Yeah.
even more with the character. So yeah, he I consider him an OG because when he started, probably Tekken 5. I can't remember, but I remember like especially in Tag 2, I saw him play, and I was like, "Yo, he's so cool!" Like, who would have thought like years later you
Yeah.
know, we'd be working like this together.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's able to provide, I guess, maybe some of that legacy weird, like it's just like little kind of
Mhm.
things in the game kind of knowledge. That's really cool, and maybe
Exactly.
experience of offline events or something. Maybe like I don't know. That's really
Yeah.
cool though. Okay, so like during COVID, I don't know if I'm getting too ahead of myself, but oh yeah, Red Bull. What was the whole Red Bull thing? You got signed by Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I got signed by Red Bull, and man, I can't believe it's crazy. It literally happened in September. And I'm still in shock. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Give me a few
Yeah,
months.
you're one of few that can say that. I'm signed by Red Bull. Not many people say that, you know? It's a handful of players that can do that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But it's the fact that like I I just believed in it, you know? I believed so hard that what I was doing was good work because I
Yeah.
knew it was. I knew. But um I didn't know it was going to bring me to this point because I was approached, I was contacted. I think it was emailed. Yeah, emailed and stuff, and it was discussed. And then there were meetings about you know, potential next steps and all this. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking over time, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. This is
Yeah.
happening. And you know how sometimes you have to just blink and you have to go, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is definitely, oh my God. It's still a thing for me. And it feels like at first I thought, is this supposed to be like some big shoes to fill? No, no. I've always had these shoes filled.
Yeah.
My aunt like calls it like, so you stepping into the light, stepping into the spotlight because
Yeah.
that you claim it because that's who you are. Greatness is what you are, but you have to
Yeah.
believe that. And sometimes it's so hard because like I've done so much in the game and out of the game, and sometimes it's very overwhelming to claim it. Like, wow, I deserve this. Sometimes it's a little
Yeah.
scary. Sometimes we are hard on ourselves as people, but the Red Bull signing made so much sense, and it feels so good to feel so safe knowing that people support me and I have those resources. And because now also I have two managers now because of it. So it's pretty funny, but they're great. I I feel like I belong here.
That's like crazy that you'd feel, I guess, like, I mean, I don't know, like, not hesitant, but like, I guess unsure because like you're always doing, like, you're always placing high, raising money for charity. You're just always, it seems like you're always doing something awesome. So it's crazy. Is that like, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but like, where do you think that comes from? Like, not sure if like, being reluctant because, oh my God, if I had your placements and like accolades, I'd be the biggest asshole ever. Probably
I,
not
I
good, but
appreciate the
you know what I mean?
honesty.
It's like, what the
I
heck?
feel
Like,
it.
I can't believe someone would, be unsure when, they're doing all these amazing things.
I think sometimes it comes from outside noise and trying not to let that get to me because when I tell you I love what I do, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I get to wake up and do this. But at the same time, I'm a perfectionist of sorts. So if I do something and sometimes I don't do it as well as I want, I'm like, oh my God, like I could have done this better. I could have done this better. It's a positive, but it's also a curse. And sometimes, there's a little, people who kind of say a thing or two and they don't know anything about me or what I do. And they kind of just want to give their 2 cents that nobody asked for. And I'm like, well, gee, I've had those moments where I'm like, well, gee, is that true? Like, maybe I don't deserve this. But then it completely um, just is washed away because I'm like, no, I've done everything. And Red Bull doesn't just pick anyone. No
Right.
big or global company for gaming or whatever doesn't just pick anybody.
Right.
People, these companies scout.
Yeah.
They look. And in some, at some point I learned I was like, no, I deserve this. and nobody's gonna take that from me.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. Like, becoming more confident because I still do suffer from imposter syndrome. I do. But I'm learning that I deserve this because I work hard, and it doesn't stop here. It
Yeah.
doesn't at
And
all.
then if you think about it, I mean, it made you feel this way because it was just a hobby at first, right? Like
It
I
was.
don't think you
Yeah.
thought it would get as big as it did, but it was just a hobby. And
Yeah.
then when you talk about how the people some random noises, voices put you down. I mean, you do have that strong team that sort of reassures you of, like you're here because you belong, right? You talked about Majin, the Equinox people. I'm sure they're like a family to you now, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure they
I
let
love
you
them a
know.
lot.
Yeah, 'cause I noticed that when when I see you guys play, like it does not seem like it's just a group of players that happen to be together. It does feel like it's like a family thing. Like you guys are trying to just always uplift one another. That's kind of not many people have that. That's kind of cool having that team to just reassure you that yeah you belong to to be in this position.
Yeah, I agree because like you said, not everybody has that. Some teams are just that. It's a business, and that
Yeah,
is that. And for some, that it works for them. But for Equinox, it definitely is like a family. And specifically, I just want to mention like Emily because she's my manager, but she's also my best friend.
yeah,
And that's happened over time. And she she taught me a lot. Right? She's guided me along the way to learn how to advocate for myself, to negotiate deals, and she taught me a lot about marketing myself in terms of social media because she specializes in that. She used
yeah,
to work for Equifax, and you know, she kind of took me under her wing in that way, and it's so sweet because like she'll say like she's like Janelle, she's like I always believe you can beat anybody, and she told me that, and I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm getting teary thinking about it, but that's why I because it's
That's
really
really
easy to get
cool.
inside your own head, but she she
Yeah,
she loves me and I love her. And because of that support and the room that they give us to that she gives for the players to grow, we're able to become great on our own terms and not the pressure of like, well, you need to do good like this and this or else
yeah,
you're off the team. No, like and the same for Red Bull, they don't do that. They give us the room to grow on our own, and if we need the resources, they're there.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Okay. Are you like on both teams? Is that like?
Mhm.
And thank you so much for sharing that too. But are you on both teams? That's really cool that you can stay on both teams. I guess I don't really know how that works, but basically, like you're just what's it called? I guess like employee for both, right?
Yes.
That's really cool. That's awesome. So you have like twice the teams as a lot of people or something.
Yeah, and twice the support too.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, and then the Red Bull House, that was like one of the most fun events I've seen because it was a bunch of like it was like casual killers hanging out in the
Yeah,
house. It's
casual
like,
sharks just going at it.
yeah, can you talk
Oh.
about that experience? You guys like were in a mansion with like Red Bull trainers and things like that. That seems like oh my god, like people dream of cool gaming opportunities like that. Can you talk about that whole thing?
Mhm. Yeah, so it was at first, like, Anakin mentioned it like it was like it was just, "Oh, we're gonna hang out and play some Tekken." He didn't really give away anything, right? And I said, "Oh, he's slick. He's slick." So then we get there and I'm like, "Oh my god." It became this whole thing where it was, there were certain days where we would talk about nutrition and diet. Every day we worked out. We also had in-house tournaments. We dealt with the physical therapy aspect of gaming and health and the mental part, the just like the mental aspect of all of it and how they intertwine. So it was like a betterment, like a health camp. And the food we had every day was amazingly good, but healthy at the same time. It was called
Yeah.
Fit and Fuel. Fit and Fuel meals. And we had a personal chef every day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
What?
We were always eating, man. And then and then, like I said, the in-house tournaments. And then at the end we would watch movies.
Damn,
Um
that seems like the ultimate like freaking getaway right there.
Yeah, it's like the best vacation.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Once in a lifetime experience. I will never forget that. And it's also on YouTube too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool to watch back. It was funny.
Yeah, we'll put the description for that in the we'll put the link for that in the description. And I was gonna say the working out stuff. Oh my god, I saw JDCR struggling, and I was like, oh my god, I struggle so hard with that stuff. That was probably the funniest stuff. Like, what was it? Like, he couldn't. He was having struggles. What was it? Like, God, what was it?
It was like some
was-
sort of stretching, like range of motion that he couldn't do. I can't remember, but
He
it
was
was
like-
it was funny.
Yeah, he was like balancing on his tailbone or something, and he had to do like something, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would have failed. So plus, you guys are getting such good food, and it's like probably just hard to do these workouts.
Oh yeah.
How was the training? Did you feel like you leveled up a lot being able to play with just those amazing players?
Yes, I feel like I did.
Is-
It really helped.
Because you guys did like first to 10s and first to 5s, right, on stream?
Yeah. Afterwards, yes, they were great. It's just being able to play offline because that was the first time I had played offline since COVID, and so being able to like just play everyone, all those killers was amazing.
And where did it take place?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
I think it was Atlanta. Yes.
So, okay, so I don't know if I have the timeline correct because I've been seeing it a lot on my timeline, but maybe within the last week, right? You got in the Forbes 30 under 30, which is freaking insane. Like a gamer, competitive gamer, being able to like kind of break that barrier. Maybe there's other ones who have. I don't really. Maybe fighting. There hasn't been a proper traditional fighting game player who's gotten that, right?
Except for Sonic Fox that I know of.
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome. You're the first Tekken player, so that's like you freaking breaking barriers. So, could you talk about like, did you have any inkling that was coming?
It's gonna sound really funny, but okay, I'm gonna try and make this not sound super weird, but I every day, I would there would be a certain like time on the clock, and I would look, and I would kind of just randomly look at my computer because I'm on my computer a lot, or I'm looking at my phone, and it would always say 11. 11 every time I would randomly look at it.
God, that happens.
Yeah, and I was like, "Ooh." I said, "Okay, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, universe, but okay." And just and Emily had told me that she had nominated me. Yeah, my manager Emily told me that she had nominated me, and I was like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, just by the way." I'm like, "Emily, like." Because we definitely had tried to enter me in, I think the year before that, or maybe a year and a half before that, and it didn't make it in. My credentials, I weren't where they needed to be yet. So then we tried. Fast forward to now, we submitted an application because of the nomination, and she and I we had to write the bio and everything. And it was just, it felt right this time. Like everything, all the accolades, the tournament placements, the charities, the work I do as a public speaker, what I fight for, it felt right this time. It felt right. And the judges, because I saw who the judges were, because they announced who they were. I said, yeah. Afterwards, I found out who they were. And I was like, wow. Yeah. And I get kind of forgotten about the whole Forbes thing, and then I got the email, and it was literally the day I left for CEO, and I said, "Oh my god, I still can't believe
Wow.
it." My parents
Oh,
are taking me to dinner tomorrow, and I don't know.
yeah,
don't
that's
know.
insane.
I don't know.
Forbes is such a like. Oh my gosh, like my dad growing up would read Forbes, so it's just like, it's like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's like if competitive fighting games needs that legitimacy, but it's just awesome seeing that recognition for such like an awesome person. It's really just, couldn't have been a better person, I don't think. Like, if I'm thinking like, because everyone really, like all the top players, they just kind of play Tekken, but you're kind of doing more things. I don't want to kind of put down other players. I really can't think of what other people do outside of the game, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So definitely there isn't a more deserving person. So definitely congrats.
Yeah, congrats. I'm gonna clap it up for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's something that I realized a while ago, and something I kind of have followed. It's this motto: it's not enough to just be a player. And so I stuck with it because I'm like, I'm not just playing. I want more. And there were things that I cared about, things that personally affected me because I'm in a certain demographic in this community. And I wanted
Right.
to talk about my experiences so that, you know, I could help others. But I would go on like I would be I've been on multiple panels as a panel speaker because of it, and I've learned how to become a really good public speaker too because of the opportunities I've been given. Like I'll be invited to speak. I've spoken for Riot, for Black History Month, and IGN as well, like Black women in media,
Wow.
and I for Riot, I got to speak on a panel with one of the Cannon brothers, and that was an honor because they knew who I was,
Wow.
and they and then and then Malik Forte, I believe he's a host. So like for Black History Month, that was very big deal because like when we spoke on the panel, my experiences felt so like I felt comfortable speaking about them and they didn't invalidate my experiences. Um, and those kinds of things mean a lot to me. Cause yeah, we're both Black, but you're a man, I'm a woman. Our experiences are going to be different, in these spaces. So the fact that like, I was able to talk about those things, I'm able
Yeah.
to talk about these things and passionately and talk about solutions and be that safe space for other women because I've coached as well. It makes me feel really good because I can use my influence to do things better. You know, I don't really always involve myself with the community because it's very stressful and I need that separation, that boundary. But I like my community. I make my own community, and my girlfriend Alicia said like, "Be the change that you seek," or something like that. Be the change that you seek. Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I should do that. And because of that, I've worn so many hats in the community: commentator, host, public speaker, coach, um, pro player. That's always the one at the
Yeah,
top.
don't forget.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
awesome if you ever decide to stop playing, like you're gonna be doing something amazing. Like you could step into like so many things. It's really insane. Like, that skill set you've kind of gained over the last few years. It's really cool.
Yeah, it makes me proud because that means that I can make the space better because I have the resources to. And I see so many things like I envision so many great events too that I know I'll be able to like create so that people have a place to like show off their skills for tech. And I want to do something specifically for them. The community deserves it. And I know I'll have the resources to do that someday. Um, I just there's so many things I want to do, but that in particular, like I see it, and I know Red Bull would help me with it because that's something that they've done with Anakin too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, we've hit our time for today. I want to say Cuddlecore, thank you so much. Ian, do you have
Yeah.
anything else?
No, I just want to say I feel you set the bar so high for the next set of top players or anyone that wants to come up in Tekken. Like people are gonna be looking at you and the things that you've done, and I feel like they're gonna be using that as a guideline to what they could do, with their esports career if they want to have one. And
Definitely.
it's kind of cool that out of all people, like I feel like you definitely do deserve to be in this position, and I'm glad. Like you're one of the nicest people, and I've only talked to you, through Discord right now, but you sound like you're one of the nicest people in the world, and I'm so happy, for the things that come your way, and I'm sure you're gonna, do even more things in the future. So honestly, congrats. Like I do mean it. Congrats on the things you've done, and I want to see some of these events coming out. I would definitely attend them if you do make something with Red Bull.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I definitely want to make those events because the community deserves it. Though I've had 'cause sometimes some of my negative experiences with the community, like as a whole, like it's been good to me, and I just want to expand it and give like players that like platform to like
Yeah.
showcase those skills, man.
Yeah.
Like I love showcasing like American talent. Like when I commentate, I
Yeah.
love talking about the players. It's so exciting. Anyway,
Yeah.
I could go on and on about it, but I'm not. But Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast talking with you all
Yeah.
here. Thank you
No,
so much.
thank you for even deciding to come on this weird podcast you never heard of till I DM'd you. I'm
Look,
so happy.
welcome coming, you know.
So I'm
No,
so happy.
it's no problem. When I listened to it, when you sent me the link to your past podcast recordings, I loved it. So
Wow,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Words of affirmation. That's what we were just talking about. I feel so good now that you said that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
no problem. Keep on doing your thing, guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Cuddlecore. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one.
You
Bye.
too.